Let's call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to the meeting tonight, the regular council meeting on April 14th, 2026. Start off the night, we have the oath of office to be taken by our new full-time police officer, Kellen Schaefer. Thank you for coming tonight. The oath will be done by our Chief of Police, Mitch Oberon. Come on up, Kellen.
You, Kellen Schaefer, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Minnesota, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer within and for the city of Lee Center, in the county of Lee Sewer, and in the state of Minnesota, to the best of your judgment and your ability, so help you God. Signify by saying I will.
I will.
Congratulations.
At this time, right now, could we? Oh, sorry.
At this time, I'm going to invite his parents up.
Okay.
So if she would like to pin the badge on him.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much.
Which badge number is he getting?
8.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I can have him sign it.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Thank you to Officer Schaefer. All right, moving on, we'll approve the agenda for the evening. I don't believe there's any amendments to the agenda for tonight.
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
Need a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the agenda for this evening. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, moving on to public hearings. There's no public hearings tonight. And then the consent agenda. On our consent agenda, we have the approval of the minutes from the regular council meeting held on March 10th, 2026, the approval of claims to be paid, and the approval of the 2026 liquor licenses.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Next, we have our public comment section. If anybody has any petitions, requests, comments, or communications, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address, and try to keep it to a 3-minute limit. No one in the audience tonight. All right. Moving on, we do have a presentation tonight, our annual property and casualty insurance and work comp overview by Darren Hunt with the House of Insurance.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Jason, Dan. Dan, here's that expensive book I give you every year. Oh, okay. So, once again, the House of Insurance, myself would like to thank you all for letting the House of Insurance represent the city with the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust program. This year, we were happy to see some decreases after a couple of years of increases. As you all should know, I think you all have been on the council last year maybe as well. So the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust basically insures most of the municipalities across the state of Minnesota. And the nice thing about them is they're not a stock company. Their main duty is to work with cities, municipalities, basically provide risk control that will help mitigate risk, with what we should want to say. Instead of always looking at, what do we have covered? What are we doing to mitigate risk? And I think the city of Lee Center has done a great job over the years to mitigate risk. And that's been proven by, the claims that we've hardly had to turn in. So kudos to all the department heads, to Dan and everyone else who looks out for the residents every day, and to the departments, and tries to make sure a claim doesn't happen. And because of that, we're seeing some decreases finally. For instance, under package policy, this encompasses your property, your general liability, your business autos, your equipment, the property in the open around the cities, and that's down about $1,300. And that's nice too, because you gotta remember, there's always an inflationary factor on these buildings that are built in. So even though our coverages are going up, our premiums actually went down a little bit. Workers' compensation was a bigger line that we saw a decrease this year of $8,000, but we also had some hefty increases over the years. What is happening there is our claims are dropping as well. And so our experience modification factor that the state of Minnesota assigns to every business or organization is dropping. Knock on wood, I'm hoping that they even comes down again next fall when that policy renews in October. As you can see on pages 3 through 6, I attached all the property locations that are in there for your review. Some of the areas of discussion we've had in the past about, how do we know these values are good? And what do we know? Well, the League of Minnesota Cities sends out appraisers, and we go based off of those appraisers. But we've had comments in the past from council members that say, well, maybe this isn't exactly where it needs to be. And we've looked into those areas as well. So feel free to reach out to me at any time. If you want me to look at a specific building that you think we may need to look at, be happy to look at it and see what we have for coverage and what might need to be done. One thing too is we've always went with a very low deductible of $1,000. When we're seeing rates not increasing, we can keep that deductible low. That could be something though that I should work with Dan on in the future, maybe seeing what to do if we go up to a higher deductible. Mobile property, this is all of our equipment really that the city has, Dan, under his control. And we have a nice blanket limit of that. And that's not really shown in here, but we have a side limit that we have set for that. The equipment breakdown coverage, that's kind of a nice fallback feature if we ever have a main outage that's not caused by like lightning or something like that, where we have a piece of newer equipment, some of our pumps that may not work properly. That's a nice fallback feature. The auto coverage, of course, I listed all the vehicles that we have insured, and I reach out to the department heads to make sure we have the right ones. Sometimes they're lagging just because of when they were purchased, because anything that's purchased during the year doesn't necessarily need to be added on that year if we catch it for the following year. So I think we got those correct. Municipal liability. This is something that, we have to take an action on, which will be talked about in the old business, where we have to decide, do we accept the state's limit of $300,000, which is the most the city could be sued for on a general liability claim, or do we waive that statute and say, you know what, if we're grossly negligent, they can collect up to $2 million of that limit that we have. We've always waived that statutory limit and let anybody that felt that we were grossly negligent, and our attorneys felt we were grossly negligent, for up to $2 million. Crime coverage is the same as it was last year. Cyber liability, that's something that has been added in the last few years from the League of Minnesota Cities. And last is our dividend program, which is kind of becoming a little bit of an interesting topic with the league. They're debating on whether or not doing away with the dividend program and just lowering rates overall. So there'll be more to be said on how that's going to come to play. I mean, a dividend is really you've overpaid for your insurance to begin with. And some people that are on the board of directors say maybe we just need to give those cities back that money right away instead of keeping it for a dividend payout, which actually comes 1.5 years after the fact. So that's kind of what they're discussing up there right now. Any questions on anything that I presented?
No, you guys always do a great job with it and keep us informed, and you're always there for Dan and
Yeah,
everybody and with the staff. So
like I said, council, feel free to look through those properties though. I mean, you've had councils in the past that have questioned a couple locations. I'm happy to look into them. So we only go by what the appraiser says, and when the appraiser comes around, they go in detail on everything we have here. But there are things that maybe we just got missed, but I think we're probably due for an appraisal, probably this year, for sure next year, so.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since the city's got one.
Any questions for Darren?
One thing I'm sorry, I should have brought this up, but
No, you're good.
when we talk about liability, one of the things we haven't really talked about in the last, I don't know how many years, is if we waive that statutory limit of 300,000 and have somebody be able to collect up to 2 million from us, you guys can always go higher than that 2 million. And I want to make sure that the council is aware of that. Jason, you're aware of that, that we could actually purchase more than that 2 million. I don't know if a city of our size needs to do that, but I did indicate what the pricing would be if we went up even higher. And that would be found on page 9.
And it's 500,000, not 300,000.
Wow.
Page 30 of your agenda packet.
Thank you.
So for instance, if you went to that 2 million, and then had another $1 million on top of that, that's 7,200. Another 2 million on top of 2, for a total of 4, is another 10,000. But, you know, Jason and I know we've seen, you know, stuff that is, lawsuits are definitely on the rise. I don't know how to exactly say that, you know, you're adequately covered at 2 million, because we never know what can happen in the future, but we've been good for many years on that. So it is something that you guys can think about, you know, or, you know, maybe it's something that we want to have a more in-depth conversation with Dan on the side and things like that too. But I did want to point that out this year.
Darren, can you just explain the waiver process is not for necessarily this cycle, but would be for next cycle going into
Well,
2027? Or
if
do
we
they
ch-
retro?
if we choose to not waive and have limits of 500,000, our underwriter will go back to January 15th and
Okay.
give us a little bit of premium reduction on our policy.
Okay.
We've looked at that in the past, and it was very minimal amounts. That's why we've always kind of chose to waive it.
Mhm.
And, you know, hey, if we're grossly negligent for something, so be it.
And we talked on the phone, and I think we kind of both agreed this go around. I think it's definitely keep up with the status quo of waiving it, get the 2 million in coverage. But at this time, it wouldn't be my recommendation. I don't know if Attorney Moran has something different to buy in excess for either $1 million or another 2. Like Darren said, it might be something for a future workshop meeting that we can hash this out a little bit for maybe next year's renew cycle, but that would be my recommendation, is continue that wave.
Yep, if you waive and you purchase the 1 million, in theory, a claimant can't recover more than the 1 million. You purchase 2 million, the cap becomes 2 million.
Well,
Any other questions?
no,
Yeah, I have just a simple one, I guess. Cyber liability.
Yeah,
So that's basically if something gets, lack of me knowing any better, like if something gets hacked here, but it affects somebody else, not the,
that's a third-party liability claim, and that's gonna be limited to the 250,000, and that's where those claims get very expensive. Yeah. And, you know, if there's one area that you're probably lacking because of what has happened in the last couple of years with cyber, it's that $250,000 limit. But then again, you know, do we have mitigation efforts in place? I mean, you know, as far as our employees trained on opening emails and things of that nature, you can mitigate some of that, but that is a huge problem right now, Dan.
that this just covers the third party, not what it would cost the city to fix any problems they cause.
You're gonna blow through 250,000 within
Right.
1 month.
Yeah.
I have been noticing that our governor lately has been ordering the National Guard to come in and help with news.
Yeah, maybe
So that will definitely help.
hand out donuts at the door.
there you go.
Maybe not even that. Is there a way that we could purchase
Yeah,
any more?
I'll price that out for you.
I mean, it may not be a bad idea to look into it, frankly. Winona County just got hit
Real bad.
massively the other day. We could go. And frankly, they're looking for small governmental agencies to come in and take over. It's a huge problem.
And the bad part is even if we got into a very expensive cyber liability policy, it's still gonna be limited to very little amounts on this ransomware, is what they're really after. But we'll get some pricing, Dan and I will talk about it.
Okay. Any other questions for Darren?
So I'm assuming that we're gonna waive like we have always
Yeah,
waived.
that is under the old business, so that's why.
Gotcha.
So if there's no more questions,
Thank you all.
thank you, Darren.
Thank you, Darren.
We're gonna move on to old business, there to approve or deny the waiver of statutory tort liability limits for the city's municipal insurance policy. Do I need a motion to approve or deny?
Motion to waive the statutory.
I need a motion, yeah, to waive the statutory.
I'll make a motion to waive the statutory liability limits.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. So moved. Thank you, Darren. Have a good day. All right, moving on to letter B in old business, approval of additional pool repair work from Brighton Sandblasting Incorporated, which is on page 32 there. Dan had Brighton come in and take a look around. We did approve the 55.5 in our capital improvement fund at the beginning of the year, correct, Dan?
Yeah, we budgeted for it last year.
Budgeted for that, sorry.
Sorry, wrong, Dan, didn't know who you were talking to.
No, I'm sorry. There was an additional fee to do some other fixing there of $18,500 to a total of $74,000.
I'll make a motion to approve additional pool repair work from Brighton.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say same. All right, under new business, we have approval of a special event permit for the annual Sons of American Legion Barbecue Contest requested by Regina Pumper.
So this one, Mr. Mayor, if I can
Yeah, go ahead.
elaborate on this bit. Typically, council, you guys see this in your consent agenda. However, after this one was submitted, I got a call that they want to do something slightly different that was in their initial application. Because of smoking meat and the time frame it does to do so, they need to stay on site. So they are requesting that the day before, which is May 1st at 5 p.m., that they shut down Sharon Street just in front, between the government center there and the old jail. And they want to put 5 of their campers there for their participants that smoke the meat because they're legally required to be nearby it when they're preparing it under state law. So they've just requested that they get permission to shut that street down and set up the 5 campers so they can watch their meat smoke all night long. So I said that, well, that's a little different than the original application. So I said I would just note that, so hence why you're seeing it in the new business section. So
That's on the one-way section, correct?
correct. Yeah, just that little block there, half block.
Does anybody have a objection to that?
No, need a motion?
Yeah, we'll need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the special event permit for the annual Sons of the American Legion Barbecue Contest.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we need approval of resolution number 2026E, a resolution to approve the chip sealing quote by means of direct negotiations. We had 2 companies come in, Pearson Brothers Inc. for $76,941.48, and a second one with Allied Blacktop Company at $81,438.06. Again, this was approved in our budget meeting. Is that above or below what we budgeted for? Below by a lot, wasn't it? Yeah, which is good. But we'll need a motion to approve resolution number 2026E, if there's no discussion.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2026E.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, we have the second reading of the approval of ordinance number 2026-2, an ordinance amending chapter 46 of the Lee Center City Code by repealing Article 3, sections 46-380 through 46-392, and replacing them with a new Article 3 relating to planned unit developments, or PUD, in short.
Well done.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, last week, a week ago tonight, we had a planning and zoning meeting with a couple of hot topics, and this was one of them. Of the PUD, planned unit development. I'll read the purpose of it if you're unfamiliar with it. The purpose written here in the ordinance says the purpose of a planned unit development is to encourage the mixing of uses and flexibility from the general performance standards in the design, development, and land in order to promote the most efficient use of land and preserve natural features and open space. What that says is basically PUD is going to be a process similar to a regular plat, but it allows for somebody to choose this process, and it allows the proposal to come in and be varied from the R1, R2, or R3 zoning districts, or commercial districts even, for that matter. In most cases here, I would assume it's going to be in an effort to do something other than what the R1, 2, or 3, probably the R2 would allow for. It's going to allow for potentially smaller lots. It could allow for smaller setbacks. It could hopefully encourage a developer to squeeze in one more lot, two more lots, if that helps offset the costs of the development. But it's still under the same process as plat approvals have always been, so it's still under the authority of the city to agree to it. Just because proposed doesn't mean it is approved. The city would still go through all the same steps, the same 3 steps for platting as they would for PUD as well, and review it, ensuring the fact that it doesn't violate the comprehensive plan. So that's on 38. It's a long ordinance.
And this is, sorry, and this is coming about because it's not, we don't have anything really set in our normal ordinances.
Excellent question. We do, but it's poor.
Okay.
And most cities are in the same stage that we're at. Most smaller towns are in the same stage that we're at, where it's been so long since anybody's had the ability to develop land. We're starting to realize past errors in the processes that had been followed for planned unit development. There's very little paper trail. We do in Le Center, we already have a section. We are basically repealing that and adopting this. Some of this section, some of these pages are already existing language. There's just more of it. More legal procedures, more follow-up. It sets a clear standard for how we navigate through the process. We're not necessarily recreating the wheel and allowing for something that we never have allowed for. A good example would be in our current ordinance, we don't have anything that allows for townhomes or homes with 0 lot lines, with no setbacks in between them, like a townhome. So every group, whether it's a half a dozen or just a set of twin homes, all of those have been put together in our old process for planned unit development. It just needed to be better.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. That's a good question. I was just going to direct you to page 53, which is the summary publication ordinance. It's the clip notes of the other pages that we had in here. It is a lot. It's a lot of technical language. If you hopefully at least skim through it, you see some redundancies in it, because the redundancies are the process for the developer, for the city, and then the follow-up. So it looks redundant because it's the same steps for submitting, for approving, and for follow-ups on it as you go through it. So
Because of each district, R1 and,
no,
or just,
no, because the process is starting with Mr. Developer, this is what you do. Then the second is city, here's what we do. So but it's the same thing. Telling the developer, put the plans together. It's telling the city, review the plans. That's the redundancy that I'm referring to.
Okay.
No, this would be over and above and outside of R1, 2, or 3. So this is its own thing. We do have to classify, Attorney Moran, correct me if I'm wrong, but we still have to classify the land as whatever zoning districts we already have established through the city.
Correct.
This is going to essentially be an overlay of that. R2 requires 85-foot lots. This could allow for 75-foot lots. R2 requires 7-foot setbacks. They could propose 5-foot setbacks. So it gives almost a blanket variance at the platting process to navigate through this.
That's exactly right. I think of a plan unit development as kind of like a variance on steroids. You have your R1, your R2, your R3 general zoning designations. For instance, a lot has to be of a certain size, has to have a certain front footage, has to have a certain rear yard. Developer comes in with a plan. He says, hey, you know, your R1, R2, or R3, usually multifamily regulations, those are pretty restrictive. I would like to do something a little different with some additional density. I can't meet these setbacks. I can't meet these density requirements. But he presents a plan, a plat, a building plan, maybe a homeowners association, and it really looks good. It's going to bring a lot of people here. It's the type of development that your comprehensive plan essentially calls for. And so rather than follow those R1, R2, R3 standard designations, a planned unit development allows you to bend those rules a little bit. You're not going to break them, but allows you to bend those rules a little bit. In your current ordinance, while it does allow for planned unit developments, it doesn't give city staff a whole lot of direction to work with the developer. For instance, developer may say, hey, I don't have to provide an environmental study, or hey, I don't have to provide an erosion control plan, or I don't need to do a preliminary plat, although yours touches on this. This then gives Corey and Dan the ability to say, well, developer, yes, you are going to do certain things. And so that's really what the ordinance is. It's a very, very good ordinance. Corey is absolutely right. Most cities in this area, you know, they have planned unit developments, but you know, this gives a lot more clarity as to the overall process. So
As opposed to just writing the letters PUD on a plat and saying, here you go.
Correct.
Approve it.
Correct.
Which is what, similar to the process we've had and other cities, not just us, but very lackadaisical.
Yeah. Have we even done a planned unit development in the past 5 years?
No.
No,
I don't, yeah. I'm trying to think.
not in the last 22 years.
Yeah, yeah. Madison Lake's about the only town that does a lot of these.
It generally is going to create private streets. It's generally going to create a homeowners association, especially when you get into the residential side of a PUD as opposed to the commercial side, or maybe even mixed occupancy side. Most of the big cities, when you're out and about, if you see a big townhome development, 99% of the time nowadays, that if they're less than 10 years old, if the townhomes are less than 10 or even 15 years old, it's a PUD. And it's almost clearly identified as you're driving down the street if you're seeing green street signs through the city of, let's just say, Prior Lake. And then all of a sudden you see a blue street sign. That's usually noting the fact that those blue streets are private.
So they'd be in charge of snow removal and whatever, but it would still fall under the city's jurisdiction of that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yes.
And that would all be hashed out in the plan unit development on the language.
So, and that's another good question, because we do not, if we had a homeowners association or covenants, we don't enforce, we're not obligated to enforce covenants. So the townhomes in town that have covenants, we don't enforce them. That's on the private agreement. We do have the most commonly known PUD in this, in private development in the city, is the townhomes on Washington. That street is not maintained by city staff. So we'll allow, it's a similar, again, we've had them, we just haven't had them recently.
On those, Dan, had this discussion, do you guys drive the garbage truck down there to pick up, or they said at the end? Okay.
Any other questions for Corey? Or Dan? Or Dan? No questions? All right, well, this was just the second reading as of right now. We will move on to letter D. This would be the approval.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna stop you there. We did have, planning and zoning did have a public hearing on the 7th. This is the second reading, so the appropriate action tonight would be to waive the second reading and to motion to approve this ordinance as it is written and in front of you, and then we will go on to approve the summary publication, and then after, so it will be become law.
You're correct.
So
we've done the first
Thank you.
reading at the public hearing last week.
Thank you. All right, so we need a motion to approve the ordinance number 2026-2.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-2.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, now we'll move to letter D. The approval of summary of publication for ordinance number 2026-2.
I'll make a motion to approve publication of ordinance 2026-2.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Good. We're good, Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have approval of resolution number 2026-F, a resolution amending resolution number 2025-Z. This is establishing our regular meeting dates for the city council for the fiscal year of 2026. A few things came up this year. We have the Tri-City United School District has scheduled a special election for May 12th, so we are not, and that's on our normal city council meeting date, so we cannot meet that day. As well as the state primary election is scheduled for August 11th of 2026, which is also a city council meeting day as well. So we were going to move our regular city council meeting for May 11th is now, or for May 12th is now going to be May 19th of 2026. And then the August 11th meeting, we are going to move to the Monday of August 10th of 2026. Both of them would still be scheduled at the 7 p.m. times. Is there any discussion or on that? No?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-F, a resolution amending resolution number 2025-Z.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, letter F, we have approval to establish a steering committee for the library expansion project. On page 55, you'll see a memo there by City Administrator Evans. establishing the committee to help steer the library expansion. Members on here, Bob Emmers and Phil Campbell of our council members that are liaison there. City Administrator Evans, Corey Block, Dana, how do you pronounce the last name?
I'm not sure, I would just say Dana H.
Dana H. from Widseth, Stacy Linneman, the library director, Lynn Zelli, library manager, and then members of the library expansion committee. Do you have anything you would like to state on this?
Yeah, most of it's in the memo, but I'll just touch on some high points here. They've, by best estimates, since I had last had a meeting with the library expansion committee, they're roughly around 133,000, over 25% of the funding goal. So now we're kind of transitioning from that group. That group is still going to be a part. They represent the library. And then now we're just working with city staff and other stakeholders to develop a plan of what the actual expansion could look like. We'll meet with Corey to look at ADA standards, discuss floor plans with Widsec architects. So this is just kind of getting approval to form the steering committee and to kind of have these higher level meetings to kind of move forward and shape what the options of the library expansion could look like if the funding, overall funding goal is met. So just looking for a motion to approve establishing the steering committee for the library expansion.
Are there any questions? All right.
I'll make a motion to approve establishing steering committee for the library expansion project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you, gentle peoples, for being part of that. Letter G, approval of resolution number 2026G. This is a resolution establishing procedures relating to compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. Dan, would you be able to?
Yeah, so as I went through the process, securing funding for the last plow truck, we had to put it over to our bond attorneys over at TAP. And they really recommended a lot of their cities do this. And what this allows the city to do is to basically come up with a certificate that if we ever move forward with, let's say, a purchase of another truck, let's say next year, and we were in the financial ability to purchase that with cash, we could then fill out a certificate for that. So then if we ever needed to buy subsequent equipment, we could then pool all of those assets together, and then we could go out for bonding for that specific equipment note and likely get a better rate. So this is just something that they recommend that we pass, given that it's a good financial tool. And it doesn't mean we're buying anything. It just means it gives us the access that if we do want to purchase something in the future, and we think that with, debt dropping off and we might want to procure more capital assets, it's just a mechanism that we can kind of pool those together to go out for a bond note on it. So that's all. Looking for just kind of approval on this tonight for that.
So with this, is this something we will have to do every year? Or is this just
no, this
one
is a
time?
one-time resolution, and as you can see on page 61, that's a certificate that we would fill out if we wanted to move, Exhibit A. We'd fill out this declaration of official intent to reimburse in formal bond proceeds. So this is what give me the ability to fill out, to note, this was X amount that we paid for the asset, and that if we wanted to roll it in a bond, it just is a tax tool through the IRS to go back and capture this to put it in a much more favorable equipment certificate note for the city.
And that's on page 62.
Right. Yep. It's just another tool in the tool belt for a financing tool is all this is.
Okay. If there are no questions, we would need an approval of resolution number 2026G.
I make a motion for approval of resolution number 2026G.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, next, letter H, we have, Horizon, addition, paved walking trail, easement, acquisition and maintenance. This is another memo given by City Administrator Evans, to secure formal maintenance easements from the 5 property owners near the Horizon Addition paved walking trail. That is the trail just on the east side of 11 from 99 back to the end of town there. So right now, that property is, it sort of weaves back and forth from right of way onto properties, does it not, Dan?
Yeah, I've got a picture pulled up there, and for the primary spot of that whole walking trail, it does go through private parcels. And what ended up happening is, it says it in the memo, but about 20 years ago, we were approached by the landowners, and this project was done as a city spec project through Bolton and Mink, and we ended up assessing the individual homes out here to put this walking trail. At that time, it was established that in order to have maintenance out there, they should likely establish an HOA to maintain that. That was never done, and it's kind of the idea of staff that because we already do the maintenance out of there, and this is more of a trail than a traditional sidewalk, it's getting kind of end of life, and we're gonna be looking at doing some fixes on there, but we legally can't because it's running through private properties. So securing these easements would allow us to have the legal authority to be there and kind of to loop this in with our trail policy inspection policy to see if, you know, what improvements need to be made there in the future and give us the legal right to be there to maintain it. So this is just kind of, in a nutshell, kind of fixing some of those. Now, that's not guaranteed that we're gonna get easements, but it's gonna be, I think, beneficial for those landowners to give us one. Many of them that I talked to already believe that there was type of an easement or that it was already city-owned, but this is just kind of shoring up kind of those historical things that was, gives us the legal ability to be there.
And it stays the walking trail instead of a sidewalk.
Correct, yep, typically if it's a gravel or pavement, it's just a paved walking trail, and sidewalks typically concrete in nature. So this will just give me approval to start acquisition and work with Attorney Moran to get these easements, and then we would have Janelle over at Bolton and Mink, like we always do, drop the legal descriptions for where the easements would lie, and then at the subsequent meetings, will be brought to your attention for approval, and then we can officially bring it into our scope of our kind of our maintenance schedule for the rest of our sidewalks and walking trails and such.
Do we need a approval on this then, or just?
Yeah, you need to give Dan the authority to work with me and the engineer.
Okay. All right, so we need a motion to approve Dan to work with city attorney on the Horizon Addition paved walking trail, easement and acquisition and maintenance.
And hire the engineer to come up with a legal description.
And hire the engineer to come up with a legal description.
I'll make a motion
We have a motion?
for Dan to move forward
You don't have to repeat.
You don't have
on
to
this
repeat
whole
it.
thing.
You don't have to
We
repeat
just
it.
need a
That's what I was
We
gonna
have a
say.
motion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Good, thank you, Dan. All right, moving on to letter I, citywide transition of IT services to Morris Electronic Inc., MEI. If you remember, the police department moved to them a few months ago, correct, Chief? I'm assuming they're doing very well for you and I'm assuming we're Dan and the municipal with Becky would, or no?
Yeah, so if you'd like, I can give a little background on this. There's kind of 3 cliff notes on why we're moving forward with this. One, the first thing is when we last spoke of this, we were gonna segregate the police department. They're gonna run their own server up at the police department. They were gonna be with MEI, and the rest of the city services were gonna be with CTS, our current IT vendor. Because of some global hardware shortages and RAM going to IT or AI farms, there's a shortage in the market. So, you know, what a gigabrand costs, you know, 5 months ago, it's quadrupled in price. So the original kind of $12,000 that was squirreled away to do a server is now pretty much quadrupled in price because of this shortage. That's one thing. The other thing is, as we were working through both vendors trying to merge out, it was end up going to be kind of a fragmented network in the end. And I could anticipate too much of playing a blame game on different vendors not being able to work together. So I didn't like that as we were trying to split off the controls. And also that would result in domain handles being different. So the PD would have a difference like at lecenterpd.gov, and we would be at something different. And for uniformity, it's something I want, and I know most other cities have this, is to have that uniform domain control. And also really, you know, MEI has proven to me that they're very capable. They're a smaller base company, which I think I'm gonna like better, is in, you know, you've got a point person to go to, and you're not just kind of in this wheel and whoever you get is who you start out with. So they know the accounts. They've been proven that they can handle sieges for law enforcement and all their police needs. And I reached out to a couple other cities who have MEI, and they spoke very highly of them to do a transition. So based upon that kind of staff investigation and all these hardware shortages, it just really made sense to shift the whole operation over to MEI and move forward. So nothing has changed from the last time when we did the $100 block agreement. We'll continue to do that. This is just letting you guys know that I request authority to then send CTS their 60-day notice and then to transfer over services within the next 60 days over to MEI. Cost savings on this is going to be pretty significant. It's hard to put an actual amount on it. It is going to be a reduction. How far of a reduction? It's hard to grasp now because there's still going to be some transitional labor that we're going to have to pay into this. But and as we rework, you know, what CTS was charging us for, you know, networking might be a little different over at MEI for as far as licensing and that type of thing for like Office 365 and the other platforms and programs we use. So there will be a savings. It's hard to say right now what those savings are, but it's definitely going to be a lot better, I believe, going with them. And I know I said that last time going to CTS, but I've really had a chance to talk with Chuck, who's going to be our point person, who's worked heavily with Mitch, and I feel pretty good about it.
So about the municipal liquor store, they will be going to that as well then?
Yep, the whole city will be transferring services, and it's really not hard because all of the hardware and software is already in place. It's just working with MEI and CTS to then transition all of the environment and the networking over to MEI's control. We've had several conversations on how that could potentially look. I just said I need authority from council tonight to go ahead and move forward with that, and then we can really start getting the 60-day window, and then everything just transfers over to MEI control. And apparently it's quite common in that industry that you are established and set up with your own hardware and software, and then you just switch vendors.
Any other questions from the council? All right, so we need a motion to approve the citywide transition of IT services to Morris Electronic Inc.
I make a motion for the citywide transition of IT services to Morris Electronic Inc.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Letter J, approval of resolution number 2026H, a resolution approving the conditional use permit for the placement of a move-in dwelling at 330 West Tyrone Street. And we have Corey here.
Hello again.
Hello again.
330 West Tyrone Street is the middle of the two lots that the school had for sale. The corner lot on Maple and Tyrone has been sold a long time ago. The in-between lot is the one we're addressing tonight. Paul Otting and his partner on this project, Riley, are in the crowd. Again, this is part of the public hearing, one of the two public hearings we had a week ago. Page 67 has the resolution. moved-in houses always require a conditional use permit. They require code compliance when set. Current code, not old grandfather code, but current code. So it required me to do an inspection on the house as it sat on their lot in Lakeville, officially. And you see the conditions they have written, 1, 2, and 3, and then 1 through 6. The one specific thing you'll need to address is the fact that we ask for a irrevocable letter of credit in the name of the city should the project drag on or fall out of their hands for whatever reason, come to a standstill that the city's not happy with. We would use that money to complete the project. The standard that we had set was 2/3 of the value of the project, and I had estimated this value to be similar. Again, of the work that's going to be done, not necessarily the taxable value or even the overall value of the property, but the work value I estimated to be between $112,000 and $113,000. 2/3 of that would be $75,000. What I am recommending for the amount set for the irrevocable letter of credit.
So how long is that time frame then? Because you said if it wasn't done in a reasonable time frame, I believe is one of the things you said in there.
So we don't necessarily have, I think there's language in here that, does it give a timeline or did I?
But did it not say in there though if it wasn't?
Nothing hard and specific, only because you're gonna be dealing with stuff like weather. So undue time is gonna be more of a judgment call than it is a drop dead date.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. Sometimes we use the term reasonable amount of time, but we don't put an exact time frame on that because like Corey indicated, weather could come up. Other issues that were unknown, they could be placing the house could come up. So it would be on Corey, my recommendation to, if we felt the project wasn't moving forward in a reasonable amount of time, we would then bring that back up to the council's attention and then move from there. And then look at either, taking that irrevocable letter of credit and moving forward with the project, or, what other our options would be.
Those letters of credit also have an expiration date typically, and from one bank to the next, and even from one person to the next, the letter of credit can establish the speed that work gets done in, because that expires, and we need the work done before it expires.
Gotcha. Okay. Attorney Moran?
100% agree.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
If he somehow negotiated a 5-year letter of credit, we'd probably have some questions.
I just want to make sure that it was sort of.
And he wants his credit tied up for 5 years.
No, and I don't think it would take that, but I'm just looking at.
Needed not to get it done is a loss of money. It just makes more sense that the more I get in here, the harder I push on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I see
All right. Any questions for Corey?
Are there any plans of it that we can see or no?
I can get you, I had it in the P&Z agenda. I kept it fairly generic this time because it was slightly different than what we've done in the past and what I've seen in the past. Paul and Riley's plan for this project is, the scope of work is a little bit bigger than what we've seen in the past. When I've done them previously, the house is the house, and it's going to come in, it's going to sit down, they're going to put a basement underneath it, they're going to set it down, they're going to tighten everything up, move in. In this case, there's extensive remodeling that's already started on the house, so the photos that I have of the house aren't going to be accurate to what's going to be seen on site. It was a 1950s, 60s-ish Rambler. I don't want to call it a farmhouse, but that's where it came from, and it had kind of a typical country style direction to it, where the front door wasn't necessarily on the front of the house and the back door wasn't necessarily on the back of the house, and that's one of the plans that they're gonna be doing with it. So the photo that I have of what would be the front of the house doesn't even have a door, it's got 2 windows. They're gonna be putting the doors in, the side that has the door is gonna get covered up inside it, so I didn't go overboard with those photos because that's not how it's gonna look anyway. They'll be stripping the siding on site, on their site, not here. So even though it's going to be re-sided, it's gonna come in.
Insulation, everything. Everything will be, when we're gonna be doing is, we put new plumbing, new electrical, new heating systems in them. We have a gentleman that comes in, he foams the walls, foams the joists, does all the insulation in the attics. Gets new siding, new windows, garage is the same. Comes in, that's a garage will be moved in, that'll be matte siding, new roof. And then, all new is basically taking an old structure and then recycling it with a structure, like rebuilding a car.
So oddly, I did put the floor plan, in his proposed floor plan in our P&Z packet, but it's 100% irrelevant, only because we don't care about the inside. I do as a building inspector. Planning and zoning doesn't need to care about it, but I put it in there just to show the fact that the doors are moving and to kind of give the idea of the flow of the house and why the front door is going to be moving. So I can get you one of those packets, but it's going to be different than, it's already different. He's already got half of it stripped already.
It's completely gutted out inside. We left the siding on just for the weather, so that we don't get the rain going in through it. The last thing we'll do is pull the siding and the windows out, tie back it, and then bring it in.
The more the work they do on their site in Lakeville, the less they have to do here, and the faster it goes here once they get it here too.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say that from the planning and zoning meeting, I was thoroughly impressed with what he had, I don't know how to put it, but offer, how they're doing it there. And then he was talking about who he rents these houses to and how they take care of their rental properties. And just look forward to something like that moving into town versus some of what we've seen in the past move into town, so.
All right.
Just wanted to say that.
And the fact that there's, only a 5-year roof on there? The roof's only 5 years old?
Brand new roof was
Yeah.
put on last year.
Last year, okay.
Usually that's one of the first things we have to replace. On the house,
Yeah.
Well, if there's no more questions or comments, we need a motion for resolution number 2026H.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2026H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Cory.
Thank you.
Thank you, good luck, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on to last of new business here. Approval of resolution number 2026I, a resolution authorizing the utilization of small cities development program income funds for a housing rehabilitation project. Dan, could you inform us what those funds were from again?
Yeah, I'll kind of paraphrase the memo that Jim had sent over to the council and myself. This pot of money the city's been sitting on for a couple of years, and what this was is from old project proceeds from the original Department of Housing and Urban Development in conjunction with the county within city limits to kind of have these income eligible projects that would focus on kind of blight or new windows, siding, reducing lead, things of that nature. And what happened is the program was good for 10 years. And if anybody in the original program moved or sold their house or changed ownership of the house, they had to pay a certain amount of those monies back, and those went back to the county. And then a couple of years ago, so there's a handful of houses that changed ownership. So we had the tune of the 21,157 in the fund that we have. But the hard thing is that's there's a lot of strings attached to that money. So the council can't just choose to use that however they see fit. It has to follow the parameters of the original program. Being that it's such a small amount of money, it does not make sense in my eyes and Jim to have the city run their own standalone program with such a small amount of money, because the original amount of money was also facilitated through the Minnesota Valley Action Council. We're proposing to give them back the funds to utilize for houses in the center that were up to the same kind of project use that was, the go around X amount of years ago. So basically, this is just money that's going to help a couple of those houses out there. We don't know which ones they are, but they will apply, and Minnesota Valley Action Council will then run through the program. And the way we wrote it with them, if approved, is if they moved out again, the city would not get the proceeds back. The proceeds would go back to Minnesota Valley Action Council, and then they would again be able to use those funds within the city of the center. So it kind of washes our hands of these federal dollars that have a lot of strings attached to them, but still gives us the ability to give back to the original, the program and why it came around, and then fund a couple of these projects. So I think on the first page there, and one of the projects they're working on has a list of things: new vinyl siding, window replacements, roof replacements, entry and storm door. So kind of a lot of those cosmetic things too. So that's what we're looking at. So that's Jim's memo, and then we've got it put into kind of a resolution 2026I. That's we'll then transfer the money over to the Minnesota Valley Action Council to use.
Any questions for City Administrator Evans? And we'll need a motion for resolution number 2026I.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2026I.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Moving on to reports of departments and organizations, starting with the planning and zoning from Corey. Third time's a charm. I like it.
Briefly, after all the months of me coming up here and saying that we had stuff brewing, only to come back in another month with my tail between my legs and say we didn't have a meeting, we finally had a big one. So aside from the two things that we already discussed, we also had 2 facade approvals. That does not require any council approval. It's all strictly through planning and zoning, but one was for the old factory car wash, Dan Neubauer's car wash. You saw the siding has been stripped off of that. He's got the go ahead he proposed a plan of how it's going to look, and planning and zoning approved that. And another new building that's going to be going in the I-1A district, which is on the old community garden lot behind Rademacher's, by the city compost drop. That zoning district is nowhere near as strict. It just says straight planning and zoning approval. It doesn't start with saying that it has to be brick, stone, stucco, etc. It's just planning and zoning approval. The other buildings in that district are all steel anyway, so that was 2-tone steel is what was approved to us, and that's proposed to us, and that's what planning and zoning approved.
When's that? Oh, it does. Good.
So that's all I have, unless you've got any other questions for me.
I don't have any questions. You got any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the liquor store report, Ms. Bickla.
Good evening. Our March 2026 sales were $97,480.41. Our February gambling was $6,320.85. Our March CNN sales was $480.45. Below that, you can see our revenue sources for the month. In March, we had a pepper tournament, karaoke. We had our Dart League appreciation night, and they all went to the state tournament. We had our St. Patrick's Day celebration, and we had live music. Coming up here in April, already we were open for Easter, and it was a busy day, so that was good. We have live music by Shenanigans this Saturday, April 18th at 7:30 p.m. We have live music by Mike Fugazi on Saturday, April 25th. Throughout the last few months, we also donated monetary donations, gift certificates, or prizes to different places in town, like the TCU Robotics Team, Post Prom, Lee Seward County Relay for Life, and the Lions Club. We are working with Schwickerts to fix a roof leak we found with all the rain we had the last couple weeks. And also, I just found out that we are the winners of the 2026 MMDA Facility of the Year Award. We won the award for the best promotion, and we will receive a plaque and $300 for community project at the annual conference on Monday.
Awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks to me. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Bickle?
The promotion was for, unfortunately, when the Joyride was canceled for the St. Patrick's Day festivities, we were able to find a sober cab driver and promote that throughout the town, and so.
Good, good, awesome. Any other questions for Ms. Bickle? All right, thank you so much. All right, Chief Overend, police report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Calls for March of 2026 was 234. Brings our total calls for the year so far at 601. We're down almost 21% from calls just for the month of March of 2025. We've had mock construction come up, fixing fascia on the building that was damaged, tighten some other things down. Working with another vendor in town to get some estimates for some brick repair work up there. And one other thing I would like to see you keep in mind, maybe when you're doing your seal coating, to think of the PD parking lot before it's totally wrecked. It's pretty rough shape.
I think it's already wrecked.
Yeah,
I think it's
it's not worth doing anything, huh?
And then you'd have to go to a pavement specialist, but I mean, it's alligator.
Gravel. Yeah, it's bad, but I just thought if whatever you can do to keep the water out of it.
Yeah.
That building is in a low spot, so we're catching a lot of water from the east as well, and there's some mitigation with that.
Do you have water in the building that's coming in?
It's not coming in, but it's going down along the building.
Oh.
Could use some gutters. If you look down the gutter line on the west side of the building, that's causing a lot of issues with the asphalt. Water from the east is running off the parking lot down and into the front southeast corner of the building. So when it freezes, it's must have blocked out down there.
Why don't would we want to get an estimate on seeing what gutters would mock? I mean, he did the ones up at the.
We have some of it already built in, budgeted in a CIP capital improvement plan for this year.
Yeah. Just something to think about.
Let's at least look into that for now, and maybe even
next year or whatever, but. So that's all I have. If you guys have any questions for me.
Any questions? No. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, Public Works, Superintendent Steinborn.
Good evening, everyone.
Good.
We've been busy. Bob's been out sweeping the streets, trying to get them cleaned up. Did some jetting today on Cordova on the main line. They're getting the sewer clean there. Weather permitting, looks like it's gonna be cold Saturday, but we are gonna open up the park bathrooms. We may wait till Monday to start opening them. We don't want anything to freeze up.
Well, yeah, they're talking cooler this weekend,
Yes.
so.
Yep. And a reminder to everybody that there is a citywide cleanup this Saturday, 18th, from 8 to noon, down by the shop on Ottawa Street. We'll have a couple roll-off dumpsters there and a couple garbage.
Okay. Any questions?
What's the time again? 8 to noon?
8 to noon.
We get another post on that, or a reminder, or we want
Tara put one in last week, so we can have her.
Yeah, we're gonna do another one on Thursday, I think.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the administrator's report. City Administrator Evans.
Okay, short, as you can see, I've been plenty busy with getting this packet together with things to do. But I did want to touch base on the last time I gave my report, the following day I was going to go to the Day at the Capitol event that was put on by the League of Minnesota Cities. It was a good event. We had a lot of good speakers there, as well as we got a little presentation from Governor Walz. So it was was good content on what was going on up there. I will say one of the things that we advocated for and that we talked about here was, to Representative Terry Steer was the wanting to keep the local government aid. And there's going to be an attack on that early on because it's something easy and it's an easy cash grab for both the House and the Senate to put on the floor to go after, especially because they're going to be projecting some deficits here in the coming years. So basically, we want our representatives to fight for that LGA. They've worked hard to get it to where it's at, and it's imperative for our financial well-being that we continue to get that local government aid coming in every year. So that's something that I always advocate at that level. Also, I'm pleased to announce that so far, most of these zoning preemptive bills that have been pushed out there have not made it past committee. So I don't anticipate anything on the local level for the state trying to keep or have overarching zoning controls. I don't anticipate anything going through this session. They'll likely bring something up like they always do in future sessions, but this is a kind of big win for small cities and large cities together. So those are kind of the two main things that we discussed. And then, as we work forward to see if there's other, funding opportunities, and, we talked about a little bit about water, sewer infrastructure, things of that nature. So had a really good conversation, really good event. So I just kind of wanted to touch base on that.
Any questions? All right, thank you, Dan. All right, moving on to Leesburg County Commissioners report updates from Commissioner Preisler. How we doing?
Good. Mayor, Council, good to see you this evening.
Yeah.
A couple of things with some updates. And part of it is just kind of watch out, even too, just from a safety standpoint. So we do have a rural broadband project that just started construction yesterday. They're going to be in that area of kind of that junction of 13 and 99. And so you'll see a lot of vehicles and people moving around and that sort of thing. It's going to bring rural broadband. That was a grant actually we received from USDA a couple of years ago. It just takes time to put these things together. And it's going to bring fiber to about roughly 60 homes or so out in that neck of the woods. Staying in that same area, I know I mentioned it before, the planning on starting that roundabout here in June, and so watch out for. So there'll be some sizable detours then obviously around that, and so be prepared for that, especially if you're driving up that direction. Then again, staying in that neck of the woods, one of the new things we just found out from MnDOT is that they are going to do some work on Highway 13. And so originally that wasn't going to get touched until 2030 or 2031. Now they have moved that up to fiscal 28, that it will be a grind and then cold in place and then put a maintenance layer on top of it. So it won't be a complete redo of it. It will make for a much better driving experience than what we have right now. So that'll basically be from city limits of Montgomery to city limits of Waterville. Again, that's scheduled to start in fiscal year 28, and that or 29, excuse me, so that starts July of 2028. So it could be only a couple years from now that gets going to, which better than the alternatives that we were looking at before.
What's the start date for the roundabout? I thought June 1st.
And where is that going again, Dave?
99 and 13.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so there may be some kind of, there's going to be a separate northbound and southbound detour on that. And so it doesn't drive everything in the same spot. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up working out. When we do have projects like that, that MnDOT has, they do give a small amount of money to counties because they realize that there's going to be more wear and tear on the county roads that where those detours are going to go. Does it come up with enough money to probably cover, the lifespan that'll be taken out of it? No, but it's better than nothing. And the other thing, the sooner that road gets better, then I think we'll see more traffic on it, and it'll take some existing pressure off of those county roads. Because right now, 5, 7,
and 3 get used a lot because they're just much better to drive on than going on 13. We especially see that with some semi-traffic. So the sooner we can get that alleviated, that'll help those roads last a little bit longer. Our comp plan, we are getting close to being done with that. We had our last board work session this morning. Then we'll take those final edits and get those incorporated. We are not going to hold any more public hearings, but we will post it out there for several weeks to where people can take a look at the final version. And that way people got comments, they can get to send them either to environmental services or their respective commissioner. And then we're going to take it up here the end of May, first part of June, and vote on it at that point in time. And we're still working on ordinance revisions, and that's just going to be a constant thing that's going to happen over the next year. Hopefully get most of those done by the time the year is done. Then, even with the state legislature, I have spent some time up there before the Easter recess. I was there for 2 different days testifying on behalf of the Association of Minnesota Counties on a couple of bills, mostly related to items that end up having cost shifts that come to counties, and quite honestly pushing back against that. And because that only ends up, if the shift comes this direction, whether it's from the federal government or the state government, we don't have, especially on those services that are mandated services, we don't have another choice. We can't just say no, and we have to deliver the service. But unfortunately, then we end up, some of the cost of that ends up going on the tax levy. And that's what we're pushing hard against. So it will be an interesting end of the session. Every session's got its own flavor. I will be surprised if a lot happens this session. Maybe a skinny bonding bill, and I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot other than that. So we'll see where things end up going. And then the final thing, this is something that's gone on for quite a while too. You probably already saw it in the newspaper or heard from other folks. We did finally take action on the rifle shotgun issue, and so that was dealt with, and decided to go with the state law on that, which would allow them rifles to be used. You can still use shotguns too, but it would allow rifle usage for deer hunting starting this fall. And that is all that I have, unless you've got questions.
Any questions? All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, we have the Lee Stewart County Fair Report. Nancy Stoff. Nice t-shirt. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are we doing?
Oh, I'm tired.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. I don't have a whole lot of information on the exact dates for everything, but I do know that these things are a done deal. Yes, the carnival is coming back. I've booked the Rad Zoo again because we cannot get the U of M Raptor Center because of the migrating birds, and with having us open air, they will not come down to county fairs unless you're in an enclosed building, and we just don't have that kind of facility. I'm doing bingo again and my take and bake contest on Sunday. I've sent back the Ranch Rodeo contract. They are once again anchored on Sunday at 1 o'clock. We are going to have wrestling. I don't know wrestling, it's whatever. I talked to one of my board members today, and they said the contract was signed and the monies were sent, but I don't have any details until we have our meeting on Wednesday. Sounds like fun. I know Cleveland Cherry Creek Days are also having wrestling this year.
You don't know which company it is?
They changed their date now till August. Cherry Creek is now August 7th to the 9th. I know because my great niece, my great niece is on the committee. For music, we're gonna have Doug Traxler, Sammy Teedy, Mike Put, I guess, is country, and Dirty Word is rock and roll. I don't know the dates for them, except for probably Doug Traxler will come after the Sweet Corn Feed, which I've got booked and ready to go. think it's my 25th or 26th year on the sweet corn feed. It's really a good way to start the fair. And sad to say, we lost one of our former fair board directors, Reen Greenwald, passed away from Greenwald's Greenhouse. Nice man. The funeral review is Friday from 9 until 11, and the funeral is 11 at Waterville Methodist Church this Friday. I buy a lot of my garden stuff out at Greenwald's Greenhouse, and so if you see him and Odine, you might want to pass on words that he was a very nice man. So that's all I got. I'll have more next time.
Very good. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? No questions? All right. All right, on to other business for the evening. Is there anybody have any council reports, anything? No? Nothing for tonight? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.